Hi everyone, how are you today? I hope that you are well and I hope that you are safe. I know that shelter in place is getting a little bit wearing on everyone, but I want to remind everybody that this step that we're taking to shelter in place and to continue to wear masks and gloves in public, those things are helping the greater good. We're attacking this virus in the way that we can the best. And when we help the greater good, that is what God has called us to do. God calls us always to seek out those ways where our actions lift up the community rather than harm it. So I hope that you'll be patient just a little bit longer and we'll get back to church soon, I promise. I hope to see you sooner rather than later, you know that. But while we have to take precautions for the greater good, I am happy to be able to do that and still bring worship during the week when we do it online together. I wanted to share a quote with you that someone sent me in an email today. The quote goes like this: "The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." In the email, that was attributed to Nelson Mandela, and something in the back of my head kept saying, I think that's Ralph Waldo Emerson. Is that the right citation? And when I use a quote, I always want to try and have the correct citation with it. So I went to the internet and I started searching. This is what I found. It's not only attributed to Mandela and Ralph Waldo Emerson, it's attributed to Confucius and to an Irish writer by the name of Goldsmith and to Vince Lombardi. So I guess the lesson in all of that is that perhaps it's not as important who said it, because the intent of this quote is so profound and so universal. That's what we really need to focus upon. It seems that all of the people that it's attributed to really wanted the intent of this quote to be out into the world, and so they said it at some point. This idea that glory doesn't come from never falling, that glory does not come from being perfect in this world. The greatest glory that we experience is those times when we fall and we pick ourselves up and we keep walking forward. Those times when crisis comes and we meet that crisis and that challenge with everything we've got, feeling all the feelings that we're feeling, the anger, the sadness, the regret, the recrimination, but continuing to walk forward, picking ourselves up and rising up, as St. Paul would say, to that higher spiritual body that we have. I think that's really an important quote for us as we continue to do this shelter in place and as we continue to try and figure out what it is that we can do to help in this world. I think it's really important for us to remember how resilient we are as a people. And so this week in worship, we're going to start thinking about our resilience and think about some of the biblical characters that show us how we are resilient as God's people in this world. The first resilient character that comes to my mind is Joseph. Do you remember how much trouble Joseph went through? Do you remember all the times of crisis and chaos that Joseph went through? But each time Joseph would rise up and God would set him on the path that was going to lead to the greater good, the salvation of Israel. In the end, everything that Joseph went through was something that put him in a position to be able to help in the way that God needed the help to be done in the world. So we'll talk about resilience in worship. And if you have a favorite biblical character that is particularly resilient, let me know that. We can find out a way to preach about that character. I also wanted to invite you, if you have not had a chance to drop by the prayer chapel in our Zoom meetings on Wednesday nights for St. Paul, I want to invite you to please do that. That is such a wonderful time of uplifting and a time when we can spend together sharing our prayers of concern and our prayers of thanksgiving. But this Wednesday night particularly, I think it would behoove us to spend some time thinking about the folks that we've lost to COVID-19 and spending some time in grieving and public lament. There are other times in our lives that we know of when we have been able to publicly share our grief and have that outpouring of grief that everyone around can witness. But with this COVID, it doesn't seem like we're being able to do that. Yet we are all grieving. It's something inside of us that we are experiencing that we might not be able to name, but it is there. So I'd like to invite you to come to the prayer chapel. If you haven't had a chance to be there, it would be wonderful to see you in prayer chapel on Wednesday night so that we can spend some time in remembering those folks who have been lost to COVID-19. As I said, the intent of the quote that I got today is the most important thing for us to cling to. We might feel like we're falling, but the greater glory comes when we are going to rise up out of that fall. And we will. We will, because God is with us. God is walking with us through this time. And every time we fall, God is right there to help us stand back up and to rise into our greater selves. I hope that you will be well, and I hope that you are safe, and I hope that I get to see you sooner rather than later. But until I do, know that you are loved, know that you are thought of often, know that you are not alone, because the one who loves us and has created us and redeems us is right here with us in the midst of all of this that's going on. Have a great rest of your week. If you need anything, give me a call or a text or an email. Bye.